This podcast was recorded during the 2023 writer and actor strikes. Without the labour of the writers and actors currently on strike, movies like Avatar and others covered on this show would not exist. Welcome to Sivako, the Avatar podcast. Joining me today, I have a very special guest. A special guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mike with List25.
Pleasure to have you on, Michael. It's been a long time coming, it feels like, and I'm so excited because I know you're a very big Avatar
Thank you. I am. Maybe. What's Avatar?
fan. Well, that's my question to you first, I guess. What is your first relationship with Avatar? You know, when did you first see it?
So mine is odd, if I'm being honest. So, oh my God. Avatar came out in 2009, and during that time, I was in the process of I was just moving back. I'm originally from Tampa. I had just moved to Jacksonville, and I was moving back to Tampa. And at that point, I was also kind of moving to where I'm at now in Gainesville, Florida. And so I wasn't able to see it in theaters at all. And so, and I was so busy with everything, I didn't really hear much about it. All I heard was, oh my God, this movie is incredible. It's like nothing you've ever seen before, and blah, 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 blah. And so here I am thinking that what they're talking about is the movie itself. What I didn't know is what they're like the story and everything. I didn't know they meant like the graphics and the visuals and all that and everything like that. Because obviously the movie had the story's been done kind of, like they say, Dancing with Wolves, whatever. So I finally rented on Redbox. And I'm watching it on an Xbox 360 on maybe a 20-inch something TV, maybe like a 10-inch, very small TV. So I get through it and I'm like, huh. But I've seen this before. Like, what is everyone so crazy about? Like, I was so confused. I'm like, I just don't get. Like, I wasn't like, ew, this is terrible. But I can't understand why people were so bonkers about this. Because again, they'd said we never seen anything like it before, and here I am thinking we have seen this story before. I don't understand. And so, cut to not too long ago, like a year or so ago, Way of Water's coming out, and I finally see it. Obviously, I missed it in theaters. Avatar, not Way of Water. Definitely saw that in theaters. And I finally see it again. And now it's, a decade or so later, I own a bigger TV, a 4K TV and everything like that. So I see it and I'm like, oh, that's what they meant. And it was just, the first time I saw it, I was just kind of like watching to see what everyone meant. But this second time I got to watch it and literally take it in and just kind of watch it on its own accord, not with like what everyone says and blah, blah, and just get to sit and really take it in, for lack of a better term. And it gripped me at that point. I'm like, oh, okay. So the visuals and like the story, and there were things I didn't even remember. There were things that I thought happened that didn't, but I get it now. Like I got it. And so I felt dumb. Like I remember too when they announced Pandora at Disney. I was not like, oh, why the heck are you doing this? I was confused because it wasn't an IP Disney owned, and I'm just like, I was curious why. And now it's totally a good call, but I was confused as to why they're putting up an entire land for an IP they didn't own at the time. So, but now everything, yes,
It all sort of makes sense now, doesn't it?
yes. No, it does. It was a good call on their part. Like, I don't know if they're planning to buy Fox at that point.
I mean, they must have had like an inkling already at that point, surely, because that's a lot of money to pump into like a property you don't own to be like a major attraction in one of your parks.
And then I'm glad they did that. I don't know, slightly off topic. Did you ever hear what Disney's plans for like Harry Potter was going to be?
I remember that they almost did get Harry Potter,
They
but
did. They almost did.
but I haven't read much into what it was going to be. What was it?
The one thing it was, let me just put it that be glad how it ended up, because apparently it was just going to be like a flat ride and blah blah blah, like barely a land, and that's what J.K. Rowling decided to go. Disney didn't want to give her control. They're like, no, we want to be our Imagineers in charge. And she's like, nah. But yeah, I think if I remember correctly, it was just gonna be like a flat ride, like a spin ride or something like that. And so if that didn't happen, because obviously Pandora was to compete with uh Hogsmeade. So we got the coolness of Pandora because of Harry Potter.
That's a cool little butterfly effect sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Where if Universal doesn't make Harry Potter and that section of the park so incredibly detailed, I'm sure we wouldn't get Pandora to the level of detail it currently is at.
not even because I mean, before Pandora, what a Galaxy's Edge was after, like what else? There was nothing. There was obviously theme lands. You have Tomorrowland. You have you have the Jurassic Park land in Islands of Adventure, but nothing to that extent, really, of that much detail before Wizarding World, and then now everything's got to compete with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Now it's sort of set that standard, and basically everyone has just been trying to replicate that because obviously now we know Super Mario's been coming to Japan, and I know it's in the one in California, and eventually it will be in Florida. And yeah, that's basically the Harry Potter one sort of set that precedent to be like, hey, you got to do this from now on, and I don't think people will accept anything lower than that.
No, absolutely not.
Awesome. So yeah, I want to ask you as well. What are your favorite moments from Avatar and The Way of Water?
So I was racking my brain because I knew this question was coming, and I feel like I cheated, but I am going to do one from Avatar, just Jake's first flight. Like I was trying to think, there are so many cool scenes, but just when he finally kind of falls off the cliff, it's not very pretty looking, but just the when he finally connects and you can kind of just see his like, I get it now. I'm, let's do this. Like it's awesome. But even more so are the two that I have from Way of Water. And the reason they're two, it actually ties in with the whole Galaxy's Edge, Hogsmeade, Pandora. I like being immersed. And these two scenes are very slice of life for me. And it's Jake and Neytiri's date night when they're flying at night. And then also just Kiri in the water where she just kind of has her basically the way, they would have teenagers sitting on their bed with their hands in their head in their hands and their legs kind of kicking. And she's just literally underwater staring at the sand and all the little, I think it's bubbles or creatures. I can't remember if we see. And just, I don't know, just it's like that's what it would be like if you were on Pandora. Obviously, not dealing with all the craziness, but like you don't really see everything else is so they're busy with the RDA. They're busy, Tolkien are getting hunted and, unobtainium is being mined. This is what it'd be like to just live there. And I love that. I love seeing the non craziness, the just life on Pandora. And those two, I get the same feeling of immersion from both of those scenes. And so that's kind of why they're my favorite.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And I think you're right about that immersion and how it kind of relates to those experiences, especially when you're at those parks like Universal or Disney, where you're walking into it and experiencing it as though you are there. And I think a lot of films miss out on those elements nowadays. And, specifically like maybe more modern blockbuster films don't take that breath to be like, okay, this is just what the world is like that we have set you in. Enjoy a little bit of time in it. I don't think we spend a lot of time in modern blockbusters doing that, but ones like Avatar, The Way of Water, we do get that time to breathe and experience the world more.
Yeah, everything in, most blockbusters, everything's bombastic and go, 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 go. And you get some breathing between the action scenes, but nothing really. They're either prepping for the next action scene or something. Like you don't get like, oh, what's life in this universe?
Yeah, yeah. There's no just literal. Hey, let's just hang out with these characters for like
Hmm.
5-10 minutes, just so you can enjoy their company and enjoy what they do on a day-to-day basis,
Yeah.
without it being like a huge like moment in their life. You know, Kiri just sitting in the water, staring at the sand. That is such a moment where you can understand her character more,
Yes.
and then it also helps later on to understand her motivations and how she grows as a character.
It's it's a nothing scene, but I love it.
Yeah. I yeah, I think this is it. You know, you do hear a lot of complaints about maybe the way of water being a bit long because of these scenes, but I think
Yeah.
they're like they're vital. They're vital for the movie.
Oh, very much so. You can't like if you just have 3 hours of action, you got to get to love the characters and know them. Like if you don't understand who you're watching, you have no connection with them. And why do I care about these characters? You give us the little character moments so I can get to grow with these characters and know these characters. Like, I get spoilers, but I feel like everyone who's listening has seen Boy of Water by now. But like,
I'd hope so.
yeah, like with Natam, like if we just literally watched him fight and stuff, when he actually goes, it wouldn't be as impactful. I mean, people talk about how they lose it and they cry, and you're not gonna if you don't get these little moments. I mean, I feel like we could have gotten a little more with Natam, but still, we get enough. And just you got to make the connection for any sort of impactful scene to have said impact.
Yeah, totally. And it does make me think of these people who say they just want, action and for the story to keep moving forward. I promise you, 3 hours of that is not enjoyable.
No,
I just don't see how it would be a fun experience because you need those moments to breathe. Otherwise, if you've got 3 hours of pure action, it doesn't mean anything by the end.
it reminds me of the whole like if nothing ever went wrong in the world and all we knew is happiness, then we can never truly be happy because we wouldn't know what it's like to not be happy. So the same thing, if everything was action, 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 you'd never really truly appreciate it because you wouldn't have those down times and then the slow moments.
You know what? Let's move on to our main topic for today then, which
Speaking
is
of action,
yeah. Speaking of action, great segue there. I love that.
thank you.
You can tell your experience for this.
Mm, I'm a professional.
We have a very exciting news, which was that Ubisoft had a big event where they announced a few more of their games. The main of which we're going to talk about today, is that Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora has more information.
Yes,
Woo! So first of all, if you haven't, please go and watch the trailers that were released at the time. I believe there was two actually. There
I
was like a
think so.
story trailer, and then there was like a gameplay trailer. They probably total about 10 minutes worth of watching time. So go have a watch of that first because it will make a lot more sense. Our discussion if you watch that first. Um, but yeah, first of all, I want to ask, what did you think of those trailers?
Well, I had to watch the first one twice because it starts in Navi and that opening, and then I realized, oh, I'm watching one in Portuguese, so I had to go back. But uh, I I'm excited. I'm torn. I'm so torn only because if I'm being honest, I kind of hate trailers because nowadays they tend to give everything away. I don't think this one did that. So I'm kind of happy. Um I'm torn that, I obviously wanted to watch it for this and everything like that, but I'm really glad it showed us it highlighted some things that you can do, but I don't think it ruined any story beats, at least as far as I can tell. Haven't played it yet, obviously, but I've watched it several times. So, I mean, it just made my excitement for the game grow that much more. And again, hopefully it didn't give away anything, but yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of trailers recently. They just give away so much nowadays. But it was fantastic. I mean, it looks amazing, and I'm excited for everything you can do. It doesn't seem like it's going to be overwhelming.
That's always a worry with open world games, isn't it? That
Yeah.
be the sort of like endless possibilities aspect of it becomes sort of like a curse in itself where you're like,
Mhm.
I just don't know what to do first.
You open your map and there's so many markers. You're like, oh my god,
Yeah, this is the thing is because I'm not a huge open world type of player. I don't
really?
play those kind of games a lot. I kind of enjoy, you know, my best way to describe it is that of the Batman Arkham trilogy, I liked Batman Arkham Asylum because it's very much here's a small map that that you're very focused on. As soon as it kind of got to the third one where there's a whole city to explore, my brain was like, I just don't know what I'm doing.
I like I like both. I'm open world. I like. If I'm being honest, I think I like open world best for end game stuff. Like it's not just here's the credits done. Oh, you want to start over? Here's level one, where it's like, okay, you're done. Now just go play in this sandbox we created for you. Because I'll admit, while playing it, it's still just like, what do I do next? What do I want to do next? And it does. Open world gets a little. I hate to bring it up again. Immersion breaking. You're like, oh, I need to go do. Your character's like, we need to go do this, and then you go for like 8 hours and do side quests, and then you get back to the main story, and they're like, as if no time passed. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. But I didn't know you liked it and weren't a huge fan of open world games.
It's a mixed bag for me. I just don't play enough of them, honestly.
Mm,
I think that's the problem. And but this is going to be a good chance for me to try this one out. I know people have been going mad for like the Legend of Zelda ones recently, which have been very
mhm.
open worlds, and I have a feeling they're quite similar, sort of in terms of scale, as what this one of Frontiers of Pandora is going to be.
That's the only thing I haven't seen much of is how big it's gonna be. Like how like I know and I'll get to that later. I definitely have this in my notes. We have at least 3 areas that they've mentioned. Um, so but how big are these? Like, we haven't seen a map. Like, sometimes GTA will release a map first before we see anything, so we kind of can see how big it is. I don't know exactly how big this is gonna be.
Yeah, it's interesting. What I've actually got a little short description which has been provided by Ubisoft, and I'll do a quick read just so everyone is up to date on what the story is for this game. Um, Abducted by the human militaristic corporation known as the RDA, you, a Na'vi, were trained and molded to serve their purpose. 15 years later, you are free, but find yourself a stranger in your birthplace. Reconnect with your lost heritage, discover what it truly means to be Na'vi, and join other clans to protect Pandora from the RDA, which to me sounds like a perfect setup for this sort of game. And the trailer kind of just gives you that. It doesn't really explain. I know we kind of hear a bit about which clans we're going to meet, but it doesn't show much more of the story other than here is the setup, and you will be starting from this point going forwards.
And I actually think the trailer, like, you kinda saw that, but I feel like if you didn't read that, I don't even know if you know, like, there is that scene where it's clearly Cryo, and it's clearly an avatar, and the Navi is clearly inside because of the 4 fingers, and then well, 3 fingers and a thumb, and then an avatar is clearly on the outside because they put the hands up to each other, but, like, I don't know if they ever show you as do they show them as children in the trailer? I know they have the T-shirts on and clearly human attire, but
But I like it as a setup. I think it's really interesting because I've always sort of imagined that we'd explore this sort of idea of like a Navi having to work with the RDA. We might be seeing this in the future sequels anyway, sort of that kind of aspect. Maybe not to this level, but I like that this is a way to look at it, and it makes sense to do that sort of time jump to have them exploring the world, and also you suddenly become fresh eyes into the world like they are having fresh eyes as well.
no, and I like I appreciate the time jump because if I remember correctly, it's going to be around the same time as the Battle of the Hallelujah Mountains.
So I, I'll have to double check it. I believe the time jump means that it jumps the same amount of distance as between the two films, right?
Okay, so the attack, that's what I was trying to read. The attack where you're put in cryo, I couldn't quite figure out if that is before, like, if that's the first movie and then we time jump to near the second movie, or because something else I read made it sound like the attack happened way earlier, almost by the time, like, around Grace's school. Because we're on the other side of the moon, so I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I think the 15 years kind of suggests because that's the same sort of time jump we have between Avatar and The Way of Water, and it would also make sense about the return of the RDA as well.
That's true.
So I've got a feeling that's also an easy way for them to sort of like you know push in a few of these maybe side characters that we see in The Way of Water, or at least have mentions of characters.
Oh, I
Um,
am hoping.
I think that's going to be like, I don't think it's going to be too heavy-handed. It's not going to be full on Jake Sully showing up, but there might be
Hi,
a
I'm
mention.
Jake.
Hi, I'm Jake Sully. Here's a gun.
I
You
wonder
know,
if
I
we'll
don't,
see him at all.
I don't think it's going to be anything like that, but I
Okay,
think
good.
there'll be mentions of like the events of the Way of Water or the events of Avatar, which help to draw it all together a bit more.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, what aspect of the game are you most excited for? Because obviously we saw a little bit about different ways in which you play the game.
Yeah.
So is there a particular element you're really looking forward to?
My gut is the Banshee riding. Depending on how open world you can get. It's one of my favorite things is vehicle slash traversing in open world like in GTA. I love going on the planes and flying around the entire world. So I'm wondering how high the skybox is, and I'm going to test that. And I want to I'm excited to fly on the Banshee.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm very similar. I love the idea of the banshees, and it looks from the gameplay trailer, it does look quite smooth. I like that we've got a very active way to travel across this world because obviously, if it is a large map, we're going to need a quick way to get around, and a banshee's the perfect example for that.
I wonder if they're going to have fast travel.
Yeah, that's another point. Like that's a classic sort of open world thing they put in, isn't it, nowadays?
Yeah, maybe we'll because I know that when the skill tree is tied to the Tarsu plant connecting to Awa. I
Yes.
wonder if that's also going to be how they do. I wonder how they're going to implement the fast travel.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it's sort of as simple as, yeah, you connect at one point and then you're able to travel to a different point on the map as a fast travel. I do like that we're going to see the combat sort of evolve in that way, and I love that they connect it, make it like a real world reason for it as well as being like you're connecting to your ancestors to learn new skills. That's a really good way to do it. And I also like that we're getting the choice of how you want to do combat. Do you want to just do a traditional Navi attacks, using your bow, spears, and things like that? Or do you want to, just go full Call of Duty mode and start shooting people with rocket launchers? It's cool to have that option.
Yeah, and that's actually something I wanted to ask you: is what play style do you think you're going to lean towards?
See, I really feel like I would want to go like Navi only,
Yeah.
but I just know that I'm bad at shooting games. So as soon as I get anything that just involves shooting vaguely near a target, like a rocket launcher, I'm probably going to end up with that. Uh, I can promise you, if I end up doing streaming for this game, it's going to be the worst playing you've ever seen of a first-person shooter. I haven't played
No,
one
I
in a
I
good
I,
few
I trust
years.
you. I believe in you to save Pandora.
Yeah, but I love that there's different ways to like tackle enemies then because obviously you're coming up against like amp suits and things like that. That means you've got multiple routes to win. It's not as simple as, oh, I have to go and do like a quick time event to get right up close to beat him up, which I know was something you had to do in the Avatar game when it came out back in the day.
I'm just hoping. My thing is, I hope that they have at least several animations for defeating the amp suit because all we've seen is reaching in and kind of pulling the guy out. Because that's one of the ones, especially if it's literally an animation. It's probably going to be cool the first couple times if there's just the one, but then it's gonna be like okay, kind of like when you skin an animal on Red Dead. Like, all right, cool. Can I skip, please? So I'm hoping they have multiple animations, like where like Assassin's Creed would do several different animations depending on what weapon you used.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting thing. I feel like because there's so many people working on this in terms of, we know it's not just Ubisoft working on it. There's people from Disney, from Lightstorm working on the game together to sort of like make it the full experience. I'm sure a lot of these things have been covered.
Yeah, and then I did find that it's being made by Massive Entertainment, and some of the things that they've made in the past, Tom Clancy's The Division, Far Cry 3. They did make Assassin's Creed Revelations, so maybe we'll get some animations. They've also made World in Conflict and Ground Control, and they also are in the process of making that new Star Wars Outlaws game. So
Ooh, I didn't realize it was them doing the Outlaws one as well. That's kind of exciting. That one looks good. I can't lie.
I've avoided trailers on that one for sure.
I've only watched the first little trailer, which didn't show anything.
Oh, good. Maybe I should watch that one then.
But yeah, it's exciting because there's a few other cool things about this game. The first of which is that I think you get to customize your character from the get go. Like you can choose to make them look how you like, which is great. I'm really pleased about that. I know everyone kind of wants to have their own Navi design, and this is a great way to be able to do that.
Now, are you when you create? Are you a pre-generated but multiple choices kind of person, or are you a sliders to make it exactly how you want person?
See, I feel like I like the choices. Sliders for me becomes
Too much.
yeah, it's too like fine tuning for me. And I get frustrated with it because I'll be like, oh, it's looking great, and then I'll do one, and it will just be like, well, this just looks nothing like what I imagine now. Uh, I don't have the creative flair in that sense. How about you?
Um, Torn. I think I prefer that for actually getting into the game. Definitely the pre-rendered choices. It took me a year and a half to actually start Red Dead Redemption Online because I couldn't get the slider to how I wanted it.
This is the thing as well. I see a lot of people, and they do incredible things with
Oh my
games where
god.
you can like do the face customization. Incredible in both senses. Incredible that they look horrifying, like this is a person you would never want to meet, but also so highly detailed that they actually look like people from real life.
Yeah.
So, I lay somewhere in the middle where I just make a horrific person that I hope to look like someone from real life.
If I try, I usually just kind of hit randomize until it's something I like and then play with it a little bit.
I think that's the way to go. And I kind of hope with this game that you get like the idea of like crafting and changing your weaponry for yourself. Maybe I feel like there's going to be like weapon skins and things like that. And also, I think you might be able to change the color of your banshee. Maybe.
You can. There's actually a couple things I do know. First of all, you can customize the voice, so you can change your voice. You There are definitely different weapon skins and skins, and I know that because there's a something I want to talk to you about later about the PS5 free bonus content. It's the Aranahe Warrior Pack. So there are definitely going to be little DLCs. It's cosmetic sets and weapon skins. And then with the Banshees, I did know you can feed them. You can customize, I believe you can customize the look, but you definitely can name them. So I wanted to ask you, what name would you name your Banshee?
See, I feel like is it cheating for me to say that I want to name my banshee Bob after the famously, well, maybe confirmed, not confirmed fact that Jake's
I thought it was
banshee is
confirmed.
called Bob. Well, some people say it's confirmed. Todd McFarlane said it's called Bob,
Yeah, see, there you go.
but I don't know if Todd McFarlane gets final say on these things.
So we'll just tweet James Cameron. If you ever have him
Hey,
on, just be like, James,
yeah,
yo, Jim.
yeah, it will have to be on my list of things to confirm.
The first thing you ask him.
Oh man. But yeah, I feel like again, it's like trying to name a pet. It's hard. It's hard. You gotta feel it in the moment, I think.
Oh yeah. Or use a Navi name generator.
Oh yeah, you know what? That's actually a good shout as well. I feel like there's plenty of them around at the minute. One other thing which is very exciting, which is that there is gonna be co-op as well.
Yes.
That's a very exciting element. I know you messaged me to be like, look, co-op, 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 because because we I think we were discussing it beforehand to be like, do we even think there will be?
Yeah,
Because it
sure.
wasn't confirmed early on. Long beforehand, it was probably just speculation that we might get some sort of multiplayer. But a full-on co-op version is great to me.
And I'm wondering, I know I've heard no traditional multiplayer, so no battle royale, no versus or anything like that. So but it does say co-op campaign, so I'm wondering, is it drop in, drop out via like Far Cry, or is it like Halo, where you can have 4 people, but literally kind of it just only really recognizes 1? Or so I'm wondering what kind of co-op are we looking at? Or just like it does say co-op campaign. So
Yeah.
I'm I'm thinking we're gonna get more. My gut is on Halo style. We're like 4. Well, it's not 4. It's only I think it's only 2 people here.
Yeah, it looks like it'll be 2, and I think you might be right. I think it might be a fact of, like, you if you drop into a cutscene suddenly, oh, look, it's only the main player who's in the
Yeah.
cutscene. I think it'll be that kind of situation, not to overcomplicate things.
No, probably not. I mean, maybe they'll throw the player 2 in the background and just it depends if they're pre-rendered or literally like again GTA in world things are still happening. The world is actually going on around you. So maybe.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how that develops, and also how responsive it is, because I know sometimes games do suffer a little bit when co-op's involved, especially if it's like primarily a single player game.
But if they literally already I don't know, they know what's happening. They probably have time to do it.
Yeah, I feel like they've planned ahead for this kind of thing. I would hope so. So
And it's
there's
crossplay.
obviously yes, exactly. That's exciting. So right now we know that uh, this Frontiers of Pandora will be coming out for the PlayStation 5, the
Yep.
Xbox Series X, PC, and it also says Luna.
It
And
does. I was gonna
which
ask you if you knew anyone that uses that.
I'm gonna be honest with you, no, no.
Me neither.
So if the one person on the Luna it wants to play Frontiers of Pandora, good for you.
We'll play with them. We'll find out who it is.
Yeah, like it's I mean, I'm not surprised, but it's like only next gen but it's having to be on at this point. This looks like an intensive game for the platform. My question is, do you think eventually we'll get a Switch version much like
Ooh.
the Avatar game from 2009 2010 is an entirely different game?
What? No.
Yeah, because like back in the day, I've got the Wii version of Avatar, and it's an entirely different story and game to the ones that are on Xbox and PlayStation.
I think we will eventually get one once there is a Switch 2 or whatever. The issue being the Switch is always like behind the previous generation. So like the Switch is technically behind the Xbox One. So if we're not getting Xbox One or any of the PS4 or anything, I don't think we're getting Switch. But whenever they release 2, we'll either get it if it's still running via again Grand Theft Auto, where that GTA 5 has been running, like we've getting new quote unquote new versions for a decade now. Or at that point, if they've made a Frontiers of Pandora too fast to Pandora, um, then maybe we'll get that one, but not while it's just the Switch. My gut says no.
While you mention the fact of there, being what's the plan for the future, from what I understand, there is going to be growing content for this game. From
Okay,
what I remember reading early days, was that there will be like expansions moving ahead as the movies progress as well, which means we might get some downloadable content along the way. Expansion packs, obviously, we know about like maybe skins and things like that. But does that mean we might get whole extra stories involved, which
I
which
hope
I'd
so.
kind of like. I'd like that.
Now, would you rather have that? So the what's the word I'm looking for? What's big these days in the video game world is having live service. Would you rather have that be a live service and they keep the game alive through microtransactions, or would you rather have and up like would you rather have this game constantly updated over the years, or would you want a just proper standalone sequel like here's Frontiers 2, here's Frontiers 3 as the movies come out, or would you want this game just continually updated and kept alive while we release the other movies?
That's a tough question, especially obviously because we despite the fact we've had now three trailers in theory for this game, it
Yeah.
still feels early days to be able to like make any. hard and fast like statements on it in terms of like, will this be something that can like satisfy us Avatar fans for the 2.5 years we're going to have to wait between
Mm,
Avatar movies. It's I feel like it's more likely to lean towards the live version rather than a straight up sequel.
yeah.
But then if the game performs really well, maybe it will just be like, yeah, let's go for a sequel instead.
I'm definitely torn again. I've said that a lot. I'm torn on a lot of things. But because I can't stand microtransactions. I don't I like Overwatch was one of my favorite games, and I haven't played that in forever because of what's been happening with that. And so to, to keep it up and going would be great. But part of me wants to just go back old school. Like just give us a new one. Just give it like update things and release a new game. Like I don't want to pay $20 for a gun skin so that you can keep your live service alive and running and just kind of update us maybe every now and again.
I think I agree with you on that because I think towards like the Jedi games that we've had recently, the Star Wars Jedi
Mhm.
ones, and I think the fact that they're two separate games, that
Right.
the story was satisfying. I haven't played the second one yet. It's
I
not
haven't
on
either.
Xbox One, but I really enjoyed the first game and I enjoyed the story. And I was like, "Yep, I'm happy to wait for another one to come out so I can play a whole new story." If it's a similar situation to that, yeah, perfect. I'm happy to go along with that, and I will happily, buy a sequel for it. However, if it, it's different for different games because obviously open world games, Star Wars, the Fallen Order is kind of open world, but it's not. It's very much on rails. Um, but I don't know if open world games last as long in that same way to I feel like maybe they work better live, something like Grand Theft Auto is an example where they just kept adding new content to it, every other month or something like that to keep people online.
What let's say they go microtransaction. I have two questions for you. What kind of microtransactions would you expect? And then also, what kind of DLC would you want to see?
All right, so
You've kind
if
of
we
mentioned it before though.
if we're gonna do like full on microtransactions, I want it to go the Mario Kart route, which is that. So basically, for Mario Kart on the Switch right now, they're doing like a huge thing where you bought like a booster DLC pack for it, and I think maybe each quarter of the year, you get a whole new four set of tracks and a new character added each month, each time, and which is cool because it means constantly there's new content being added and it gives you a reason to keep coming back to the game every couple of months. Something like that for Avatar would be amazing to be like, hey, look, if you come back next, the game comes out in December. Let's say you come back in the summer of 2024. There's going to be a whole new storyline which is going to feature the Metcaina clan in some way. There'll be a different storyline to do with that, and this will be a different aspect. It's you can choose to buy it. You can buy it separately by itself, or you could buy it as part of like a larger DLC pack, which is an overarching story, maybe, or something like that. I'd be interested in that.
I think same. I have that. I definitely want them to start including stuff from the Way of Water, um, like the Mekaina, the Elu, the Tolkun, and the Skimwing and stuff like that. I'd love to be able to have those like as mounts. Well, wait, I don't. Not the
Give
Mekaina. They're not mounts. But
give me a Tolkun. I just want a Tolkun mission. I want to play as
that'd
a
be
Tolkun.
amazing.
Just let
Oh my
me
god!
let me
Now I
part
want
of
to
the
know.
Orca uprising.
Can we swim, or do you think it's going to be like old video games where once you touch water, you just drown?
Oh, like Sonic style. Anytime you touch
Exactly.
any water, you just completely
Done.
kill out. Um, nah, they can't do that.
You got to be
However,
able to swim.
full damage is going to be an interesting one on this.
Ooh.
You call your
Can we get
banshee too
knocked off
late.
our banshees?
Well, this is going to be an interesting thing. I wonder if are we going to get quick time events while you're like riding your banshee, where it's like, oh, you need to
Uh-oh.
click the buttons at a certain time to, if in case you fall off or maybe another banshee comes and attacks you, and you get knocked from it, you got to like rapidly tap a button to hold on.
I'm going to say yes for air combat like that, and possibly if it's ever tied to a story mission, but maybe just flying around I don't know. But I could see if there's another. Why would we get attacked by a banshee though? Maybe the other clans when you're first meeting them are like, "Hey, how dare you? Go away." But hmm, I feel like there's going to be a quick time event, at least one somewhere in there.
I mean, I'd be shocked if there's not like a that feels like a classic thing to include, especially like early in a game where you probably don't have any weaponry. Quick time events, easy way to get around that, you know?
I was gonna say, would you want if they do throw in Way of Water stuff, would you want to be able to play as like one of the other clans, like Metcaina or the other ones from here? Like maybe a end game plus kind of thing.
Ooh, like as a, sort of like you're playing as an entirely different character for those
Hmm.
missions. Mm, I could see it. I could see it working.
I think it'd be cool because especially now that we know you have like the Amatakaya, which are very more agile and built differently for the trees, whereas the Metcaina is more the bigger and built for water. Like it's different skill tree.
Yeah, I think that would rock. I'd like that. I think riding a skimwing would be real cool.
Oh man, you're well, Ubisoft. I know you're listening. Just get on this. You're good. This is yours for free. You can have it.
Look, we're just giving you free ideas here. Like, just keep pumping out this extra DLC for us. I did want to ask you, how are you feeling about it being first person?
Ooh,
Because
okay.
I know that's a big debate right now in terms of like, I feel like a lot of people are not quite happy with that.
Spoiler alert: I'm torn. Obviously, that seems to be torn. Because I can see the both sides of everything. First person's fantastic for again immersion. Great, it's you. But again, you have these alien creatures that have different body types and can do stuff and like stuff you humans can't do. That it'd be fun to see. So I, when I first learned about Frontiers, I was absolutely 100% thinking that it was going to be third person, and then just that cinematic was first person as like a oh look. But I'm going to play it no matter what. I'm just glad that we get third person flying because or any mounts really because that I feel would be not great first person. Because again, GTA you could do first person, but once you go into the car, I do not like driving in first person. Um,
I will say any games where you're sort of first person in a vehicle, it does suddenly feel a lot more difficult trying to
does
navigate.
it does because unless you have like I have an Oculus Quest, so that works. Like when I play Star Wars Squadrons, yeah, because I can turn my head around. I'm not blocked constantly. I can look around like you would in real life. But
I was I was genuinely going to use that as an example for Star Wars Squadrons because I struggled with that game because as soon as it goes inside the cockpit, I am so disorientated, and I'm just imagining the same would happen if I'm like first person on a banshee.
do you have a virtual headset? Or are you playing
I
on a
do not.
monitor?
I'm playing on I'm playing on my
See,
TV screen.
yeah, it's much. Trust me, playing that in VR is I can turn and look behind me at stuff, and like it's it makes it way better.
No, you're seeing stuff that's not meant to be seen in if you're doing
Kinda
that.
sometimes, but I one of my favorite games of all time is Mirror's Edge. So first person doesn't really bother me like some people, but I do feel like we're missing out, especially because hey, customize your Navi. Also, you're not really going to see them ever, so cool.
You see him in a
It's like
cutscene every half hour,
yeah,
and that's about it. But I do understand that aspect to be like, hey, I want to see my character, and I do wonder if eventually maybe they do think, maybe there is more third person to it than we realize.
maybe.
They haven't really explicitly said anything about it, so you never know. You never know.
And if it's sometimes first person shooters are better than third person shooters, so if
I will be
that's the
honest.
focus.
Third person shooters are far, but there's not many that really work for me. I like the Gears of War games; they work quite
That's
well
what
in
I was
third
going to say.
person. That's like my prime example of how a third person shooter needs to play. Um, but you can't just copy a game that you don't own.
No,
It's interesting as well because obviously the Assassin's Creed games are all third person and about world exploration in a way, and from the same studio. So
yeah,
that's an interesting one. But I trust these guys. They seem to be doing the right things. I'm hearing the right things from these like presentations. And if Cameron's, I originally when the game was meant to come out last year, which is crazy to me.
That's right.
And I remember basically reading like a like a thing off. It might have been off like 4chan or something, where someone was like, James Cameron basically played the game and was like, "I don't like it. Let's scrap it. We'll start it again." Uh, which I can see him saying. And if so, if this is the game we're going to get out of it, I trust that he wouldn't let a game come out in a bad condition.
No, I mean, I also just Pandora in general, but Avatar is like his baby. Like it's the same thing with Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling. Like, although she's kind of on the off the deep end now, but say like what we said with Disney and that she's like, no, it needs to be like they're not just being controlling, but it's like it's because it came from their brains. They know, and so that's what I love that they are working with James Cameron on this because it's like even the slightest detail, he could be like, actually, no, that's not quite how it works. And like, I love we're going to get the accuracy to both lore and location and everything like that. And I trust him. Like, he tends to know what he's doing.
I mean, he's not had many misses. I'll be honest. So, is there any other details from the game that you've heard about? They're exciting for you.
Yeah, the for me, definitely the clans. Like that's it's one of my favorite things about lore of from any universe is learning about the people or creatures of it. And so I know at the very least, I don't know if they've said that these are the only three clans we're getting. But we have the Aranahe of the Kinglor Forest, the Zeswa of the Upper Plains, and then the Kamatire of the Clouded Forest, and how they're all kind of different. And my only issue is I kind of wish they, at least from the trailer, they all look like just Ometakaya with maybe paint. Whereas, the huge difference in physicality between the Metakaya and the Metkaina. So I was kind of wishing there was more of an actual physiological difference between these guys. But I do love how they're different. The Aranahe are the Weavers. The Zeswa, they are like, they'll teach us the dire horse taming and riding. And then the Kamatire are the healers. So I love that we're going to learn stuff. I love that we're going to meet new clans and learn more about this world.
I will say I love as soon as we sort of had that thing of like you visit different places to learn different skills. To me, that screamed like the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time sort of
Yes.
thing, and I love those. That era of games where it as much as it's not on the rails, there is like a very solid like, hey, look, this is where you want to go next, guys, because this is this is the next thing you need to learn. And I
Semi open world,
it's
maybe.
well, it's open world enough to be like, hey, look, you can just go around and explore for a while if you want to. But here's the next thing you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that'll be enough to hook me.
Oh, yeah. Like that's one of my favorite games too is Ocarina of Time, and I kind of now that you mentioned it, yeah, it's probably like cool. You could probably go hang out with the Zeswa now, but you should probably go with the Aranahe to learn because they're the ones that teach you the Ikron. So that one might be training. You might not have an option to not see the Aranahe. That might be literally the almost the opening.
I was gonna
But
say, like, it's gonna be interesting to see how quickly from starting the game to riding a banshee for the first time is like what's the how quick can you get to it?
I hope
Because
it's
that's obviously going to
meaningful.
be it's going to be such a big aspect that's going to draw people in. I think.
Yeah. And I want to know what kind of because as much as I like the Ikron, they all look somewhat similar. Like Seswe had what's more teal, whereas Bob is more blue. So like, how crazy can we make? Like, I wonder what the customization looks like. Like, how
Yeah,
crazy can you get?
yeah. Is it just like changing the? Is it the color wheel set or thing where you could just
Yeah,
you got the primary and secondary colors, and you could just choose different tones.
you just made me think of something that I didn't even think of, and I don't know how I didn't think of it. But like, it's open world, so we're gonna have. I don't know if they've confirmed. I assume so. Day and night cycle, right?
Yeah, you know what? I saw someone mention that Jeff, who's been on the podcast. He was saying in a tweet earlier saying, Oh yeah, if they're doing the same, day night cycle that they do in the Way of Water, where it just instantly switches, that'll be incredible. I look forward to seeing that.
Oh god, I hope so. Like it's open world. It's got to be a day and night cycle. I'm hoping for that rather than just, missions where it's like, oh, now it's night, now it's day, now it's whatever. But like to see everything, I wonder if you can change the pattern of your bioluminescence on your character and your banshee.
Mm.
Like, oh, I'm just gonna run around at night.
I think that's gonna be, yeah. It's gonna be not only just a great game in terms of like I look forward to the story aspect, but just the sort of hangout aspect of it, just to be able to
Yes,
explore and see what the limits of it are.
I told you I'm gonna test that skybox. I'm gonna fly up as high as I can, and now I'm gonna test fall damage. I'm gonna fly up as high as I can and dismount.
I think because it looks like you can dismount, like you could just jump off a cliff and call your banshee. So
Very
I get a
Skyward Sword.
yeah, I think that has a bit of an aspect like that, doesn't it? It'll be really interesting. Yeah. Any final thoughts on Frontiers of Pandora? Obviously, we know we currently have a release date, which is December 7th, I believe, of this year. First of all, do you think it will make that date, or is it going to get another delay?
I think it'll make it. I think that's 6 months from now. I think that's especially because it already had a pretty big delay before. Um, Hopefully they use that time to actually do stuff. So I think we're good.
Good. No, I think I agree. They need something to fill this extra year gap we've now got.
Yeah. The only other thing I had was about the pre-order bonus and like the like I said the. What are your thoughts on the PS5 like exclusivity? Because the PS5 players will get the Aranahe Warrior pack for free, whereas the Xbox, PC, and Luna people can get it, but they have to pay for it.
That's an interesting one. I'm
Yeah,
assuming it's some sort of deal that Ubisoft have with PlayStation. I'm assuming, right?
yeah with Sony probably.
Uh,
I don't like it. I think exclusivity kind of needs to go away. I
I
know
yeah,
it's business, but
it's one of them things where I think as much as I don't want it to happen, that's just the way of of games nowadays, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, I suppose as well. The discussion is which size avatar are you going to get? Are you going to get that crazy collector's edition with the
Oh
statue,
yeah.
which is 200 odd, 200 odd pound in the UK, and I imagine a little bit extra in the US in dollars.
I don't know where I'd put it. I'm looking around my office. I don't know if I would. What I might do the thing like with Mirror's Edge. I eventually got the one with the statue, but I got it later, so it was like much cheaper on eBay, and I'm just like, yeah, I'll just do that.
It feels like it's got to be one that will pop up later
Yeah,
on. I still think so. I'm not like panicking to be like I need to get it immediately.
no
Plus, I don't even have a console to play it on right now, so it would seem really stupid to spend £200
PC.
on. Yeah, I've got a little MacBook. That ain't happening. That my
Oh,
MacBook will explode.
they're not known for gaming.
No, I promise you, this can barely handle like a football manager game.
Don't know.
But yeah, I think that's about it in terms of our Frontiers of Pandora's discussion. I hope people are excited for the game, and I'm sure along the way in the next 6 months up until its release, any more information we will be sure to discuss it, bring it onto the podcast. Hopefully, be able to get some exclusives about it as well. Maybe who
Ooh,
knows? That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
that would be awesome.
That would be. I just want to say a big thank you. It's been a pleasure having you on, Michael,
It's been a pleasure being on. Thank you.
and first of all, I'd want to say, is there anything you want to promote? And where can people
Uh,
find you?
People can find me List25 on YouTube. Twitter is literally just my name, Michael B. Estrin, and that's AEL. For all you Michaels that spell it EAL, darn you. You're the one reason people can't spell my name right. Michael B. Estrin at both Twitter and Instagram. But yeah, mostly just, well, I do there, but List25, and we're all over too. So if you like lists and you like learning things, we're pretty good for that.
Yeah, you should definitely check it out because basically there's like a list for everything. And if
Yep.
there isn't, you could just message Michael and be like, "Hey, please make a list of this."
Oh, we
And
get
they'll
suggestions
probably
all the time.
I bet you do. I bet you get crazy ones.
There are some we get, and I love all our fans. I do, but there are definitely some lists I get where I'm like, I think you're the only one who's going to watch this. Like, it's so oddly specific and odd, like in a not in a bad way, but just like super narrow. I'm like, there might be like 10 people who like this entire list. Like, I can't, we got to do stuff more broad. So, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
we get suggestions all the time. We take suggestions, absolutely. But just,
Awesome. But yeah, thank you all for listening. It's been an absolute pleasure, and look forward to all speaking about Frontiers of Pandora again soon. Until next time, everyone, goodbye. Thank you for listening. This episode is dedicated to our patrons Eric Scrock, Patrick Regal, and Lauren King. To become a patron, visit www.patreon.com/avatarpod.